Hey guys, this is part 2 of the Ruffstuff podcast with Jimmy and Tyler from SnailTrail 4x4. If you haven't gone back and listened to part 1, go ahead and do that first, and we hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Thank you. Also, Tyler and Jimmy are offering our listeners 15% off both MORRFlate and SnailTrail products. You can use code Ruffstuff15 for that now.
Can we take a quick little pause right here and talk about rough stuff? Because there's something that we didn't discuss on our podcast with you guys that I wanted to bring up, and I forgot about it, but I want to talk to you guys about it.
Sure. Yeah,
so let me interview you for a second.
Perfect.
Because you guys do something really cool with the high school kids where you bring them in and you help teach them and like how to weld and learn the trade and the apprenticeship program, right?
I mean, it's like a really cowboy style of apprenticeship. It's like show up, you get paid, and you just got to be here for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. But it's kind of like apprenticeship.
You're kind of like the shop lackey at that point.
It's just like the new guy job, you know? But yeah, we got a ton of people from Delaware. That's where Tristan's from. And
Chris.
From the way I understand it, I think with like those guys, what they're looking for is like we'll have someone come in and they'll have them try and weld something. They'll analyze that weld and then give them some direction. And that kind of can tell you a lot about someone if they can take some direction and then make it better very quickly. Because it's pretty easy to like give some direction to someone and then make an adjustment if you listen. And you know, all these welders already have the skills. They just need to be able to listen and change something up. And so I think that's generally what they're looking for. If they're not gonna, they just do like a basic weld test. And then getting to know people down the road is a different story that just takes time. But like the ability to listen and learn is very important.
And take feedback and
everything.
And learn and adjust from the feedback accordingly.
Yeah, and some people adjust really quickly, and some people don't make any adjustment. And like, okay, cool, you know. Yeah.
We've also had quite a few students from Sierra College from the welding program. I forget the shop teacher's name, but Garett was in contact with him for quite a while.
It's changed over time now, but I don't. Bill used to be. I don't think he is anymore.
Oh,
Bill
okay,
Wenzel.
so he was the one though that was sending us. You know, that's where Allie came from. That's where Daniel Vance came from. So we were doing a lot of coordination with them. They were coming straight while still being students straight over here to test and find a place in the shop and things like that. So we've worked with Delaware and a lot with Sierra College as well.
And I think that's really a cool thing to do for the community. You know, there's not a lot of companies out there that'll take somebody that's absolutely green and still in school and like kind of help them refine their trade, and teach them and give them some education about it. And then, either one, you guys get a good hire out of it, or two, you're helping them learn for their next position that they're moving on to.
I think it's good for both of us on it because they're getting experience, and then we're also getting like a good quality person that wants to weld and wants to like learn more. So we're both gaining from it. I think.
It is. There's a lot of apprenticeship and a lot of mentoring and stuff, but it is still through a job. There's no like time volunteer or anything. They're all getting paid the whole time. So it's definitely the honest pay for honest work, but they get the opportunity to talk to the guys that have a million certs and they've been doing it for years and years, or guys that I've only learned this through my own creations. And we've had people that have no formal school, and they're some of the best welders we've ever had.
Yeah.
And we've had some people show up that have a million certs, and they're
terrible.
not great welders. They may have passed the test, but they, on the day-to-day, maybe not so much. But it's cool for our guys to be able to put that wisdom down, especially on, like, consistency levels, Because, like, kind of back to, like, the guy that's got all the certs, he may have passed the test, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee they can hit it every time and have it look beautiful every time and kind of fulfill the task perfectly.
Yeah, it's good. And again, it's a lot of like it is difficult in like any career when you're starting out to like gain experience. And so it's a good like some of the stuff we do is a good starting off point, and then over time it can turn into more, right? But so we're just again like we're both benefiting from it. And we luckily we have a school nearby that there's a program where we can kind of get these people that are interested
have a
in
good
welding.
relationship with them.
And the teachers are vetting them for us, so they're not going to recommend them if they have an attitude problem or an attendance issue. So that is helpful for us in their recommendation. I also wanted to add guys and gals because we do also have some females in our shop as well.
Nice.
Just want to throw that in there.
Definitely.
That's cool.
Yeah. Did you have any other questions about that?
No, I just wanted to bring it up because it's a really cool thing that I don't think many people understand or know that is going on behind the doors, that you guys are helping out the community in that way. So
Oh,
I wanted to talk about it when we interviewed you, and I just lost. We fell into other conversations. So we were talking about welding. It reminded me, and I wanted to say,
cool,
bring
very
it up.
cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, one of the cooler sides of it, a lot of the guys, or not a lot of the guys, but some of our staff have, they kind of come out of their shell more. They may have just been going through metal shop, the hood down, just doing the task, but then they come here and it's more of a big team environment. Big team.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are really family oriented in your, in the company, which is fun. I mean, like we just passed Dan Day, which is a great event to come out and play and see the community. And, you have like a big old barbecue for your whole entire crew, and then you do great events, and giveaways as well. So I'm sure you guys even have smaller things that go on that nobody, that you don't really advertise about, and I know that's one of the fun things about Ruffstuff that I enjoy. So.
Thank you. We try. We've tried to build a family and a community and things like that.
We're
and help
very
people
fortunate
out.
to be able to, have people that want to be a part of it. Because
Well,
not
it comes from the
everybody
top.
wants to be a part of everything. And it's cool to have staff that are stoked.
And we know it's like really easy to get tunnel vision on just like what we're doing, what we're working on. So we have to like actively sit down, like, hey, what can we do? What can we? How can we make this more fun? And it's not always fun. Like we're working, right? And we always
is a
do
job.
stuff. It is a job, but we also are trying to make it like not like so boring or not. And and also even some of that might be like some just more freedom. Like whether it's just being able to communicate with like every department. Like some places just don't want you to talk, or we're not like as strict. It's more like you gotta get stuff done and work during your hours, but we're not, you can still talk to anyone you want here. We're not like restricting anyone.
We have a very open door policy. We've also always encouraged, if you want to stay late and learn how to weld, if you want to stay late and do, a couple examples are we have this guy, Kyle, who was in the shipping department, and then he wanted to learn how to weld. So we started staying late, asking the right questions, practicing. Then he was in the welding department. Then we started, we got another warehouse called the receiving department. And he said, well, as much as I liked doing the welding, I see an opportunity to be a whole new department. So now he's the receiving manager and he has an employee directly under him. So you can, we always say not every single position has, infinite potential, but if you can navigate and how he sort of molded into these different scenarios, he was able to open a lot of doors for himself.
And what's really cool is right now, I think 2 days ago they were back at it, but now Kyle is staying late after work with Mike B out of machining and Ryan out of janitorial to teach them how to weld.
Nice.
And they're really good welders. Go figure. They're really good at it. It's
That's
shocking
cool.
how good they are. And so it's kind of cool to see him pass that back down. Kind of the same level of like, I'll hang out after work and show you how to do this kind of thing.
I think
Somebody
that
did for
goes
him,
with like any job too. Like if you show like interest and devotion and like invest your own time in learning something instead of like expecting like a business to be like, well, why don't you just pay me to learn this? It's like, no, that's not. You don't get a raise before you do the work, right? You do the work and you get paid for it.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to see like the initiative just in any industry. I think when you have people that are just like hungry for information and want to just take on more.
Our shop foreman Chris, he came just directly from Del Oro at very close to 18 years old, but we only hire 18 and over, and he wanted to be in the shop, and we told him come back when you're 18, and his birthday was fairly close, and he came back right when he was 18.
With a shaved head, ready to go.
He had really long dreads, and he'd shaved them all off. Not that we asked anything, but he was like, I'm taking this very
I want to learn
seriously.
how to machine,
And he came in just, I think, sweeping the floors, helping out where he could, and that was like 2013. And now he's the shop foreman. So he runs the entire shop. There's one manager, two managers under him, and then under them, they're
all
leads.
the employees.
And then there's employees under all of them.
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing to watch someone grow from coming in at 17, asking if they could have a job, to now. What is he now? 25?
If that. Yeah. He's honestly probably one of the younger shop foremans in this area.
Yeah.
And the amount of workload that dude can do is amazing.
Did he grow the dreads back?
No.
But he's had a mohawk since then.
He's growing like longer hair, and stuff, and then goes back and forth.
Another person who we don't ever chat about on this podcast is my assistant. She came she actually worked at Starbucks, and I was looking for an admin assistant, and she came in and I didn't really care what their pre-existing job was, it didn't really matter to me. I just felt like I could train them, and she's now been here close to
a while.
Maybe 3 or 4 years. And she's helped me out a ton. And I just have trained her on everything I possibly can. And so
she just excels,
Yeah. And so
gas welding too.
no gas welding.
Mallory's specialty.
As much as you want to know and as much as you want to grow, she probably could.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of our MO here is, the sky's the limit if you're willing to put in the effort.
Nice.
We're honestly just very fortunate to have the capability, and because for us, like the guys learn how to weld, it's like a little bit of consumables, some wire and gas here and there a couple times a week, but what they get is some way more. And maybe one day they can help us out when we need someone to weld something when somebody's out sick for a day or something.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Pretty fortunate.
Cross training, I think, is very important.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Big time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna jump on some of these questions.
Cool.
Yeah.
You guys are obviously big Toyota fans.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever had or thought about having Marlon come on? He would be a great person to interview.
Oh man.
How deep do we want to go on Marlon?
We've been trying to get Marlon and Mike on for the past, how long? Since High Sierra 4x4.
When did we start?
So we started High Sierra 4x4 6 months before we started this podcast. So 2 years now we've been trying to get Marlon and Mike to come on. And the funny part about that is my dad is actually good buddies with Marlon. And Marlon does all the work on my dad's truck out of his own little personal shop, no longer over at Marlin Crawler. So every time I talk to my dad, I'm like, "Hey, did you bug Marlon yet today? Have you bugged Marlon today? Have you bugged Marlon?" And and Marlon keeps saying, "Oh, that would be great. I would love that." You know how Marlon is. How his he gets into his talking, how excited he gets about stuff.
Yeah.
And we've talked. I've gone in and like the only success we've had in like nailing them down to talking or anything is when we showed up at the shop and said like, "Hey, can I talk to Mike real quick?" And the front desk guys are like, "Why do you want to talk to Mike?" Like, "Oh, he said to come in and ask him." So, I've gotten to sit and talk with Mike at the shop, unrecorded, about different things. And then, every time we mention it to Marlon, and I keep running into them down at Hammers and. Every time they're like, "Oh yeah, we need to get on and do that." And our original plan was actually to sit down and record with them at the Crawler Roundup.
Oh yeah.
Marlin Crawler Roundup this year, and then that all got canceled. So we're like, "Oh, I guess we're putting it off again." And I think what we literally just need to do is show up at the shop randomly one day with all the recording equipment and just do it.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Just need to show up.
Yeah.
But he's been like one of our bucket list item people that we've been trying to get on the show. That and Dax Shepard.
Yeah.
Oh, we DM'd him. He
wanna
hasn't
do it.
even opened
And
it. I don't
what
know
was the
why.
other one? Richard Hammond.
Richard Hammond would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
God,
Any of the Top Gear guys would be a blast.
Yeah.
And who else did we also get? Selena Gomez.
Wait,
We
what? Are you joking?
No, we ran a contest and people were tagging Selena Gomez. So then we made fun of it on the podcast, and then more people started tagging Selena Gomez. It was
in our
wonderful.
Instagram contest. Yeah.
Wait, are
started-
you guys serious?
Yeah.
Dead serious.
We never spoke to her. She never responded or anything.
Oh.
People were just tagging Selena
That's
Gomez.
so
Selena Gomez,
funny.
To be
Richard
entered.
Hammond, and Dax Shepard.
Yeah.
They just started.
In a
We were like,
giveaway.
you guys, because our giveaway contest was tag a buddy and follow us and Gear Wrench Tools, and so they would.
You and your buddy would win. The
Oh,
product.
each a set,
Yeah,
yeah.
you each. And
Okay,
people were
that's cool.
tagging Selena Gomez.
And,
we're
like,
like,
they were tagging
we're
the
not
real
going to be able to
Donald
get a
Trump
hold of
and-
Selena Gomez to give her Gear Wrench tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
P.O. box.
We'd love to, but
As much as she might want them, I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
It became a little running joke, and finally we were like, "All right, you guys, if you really want to keep tagging her, if she gets in contact with this, we'll give you an extra set of tools."
I love it.
And
I love it.
became a running joke. It was
Yeah.
fun.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
So, are your guys' daily drivers also your off-road rigs, or do you have a set? What do you guys have?
Currently,
Yeah, why don't you start? Because I have a whole family.
currently my daily driver has become my off-road rig, my RAV4. So that center diff lock gets you a lot of places. No, it doesn't really. We actually had a listener joke because I just tried to go up to Lost Lakes last weekend, and there's a pretty fairly easy trail that I've done in my 4Runner, just two-wheel drive without even really going into low gear at all. And I tried to do it in the RAV4 and it didn't work out too well. And the listener was like, well, that just means you got to pull the diffs and weld the diffs up now, put them back in. I was like, yeah, that'd go over well in the RAV4. So I have a RAV4, and then my off-road rig is the 94 4Runner that's currently undergoing a 3/4 swap right now. So that'll be fun once that's done. And then the end goal for that is to end up with 9.5-inch Land Cruiser axles under it. On coilovers.
Hey, we sell those axle housings, by the way.
I heard you guys do, yeah. So yeah, the goal, I would love to run some Ruffstuff housings under there with the ultimate rock crawling trailing arms.
The URCs.
Yeah, you got a set of those, huh?
I do have a set of them, and I'm just kind of looking at everything. I'm like, I don't know exactly how I'm going to package it yet without having to relocate the gas tank.
Yeah.
So I kind of got to look into that and figure out if I'll be able to actually run those, or if I'm just going to have to 3-link the front and the rear with panhards and call it good. So that's kind of my ultimate goal for that. And then I just put down deposit on a new Bronco.
Oh, we just had a Bronco episode 2 episodes ago. Did you guys do one too?
We did an update before
Like
they
a
came
breakdown?
out. Yeah, like of
Kinda
what,
like what
the
were
Bronco should have, or what they're saying it has, what the speculation was.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
But,
we
yeah.
launched it, I think, the day before or 2 days before the premiere, something
So
like that.
what one did you put your deposit down on?
The Badlands Sasquatch High package.
There you go.
Cool.
So and once that comes out, once they finally get in touch and say, hey, we need the money, that's when I'll finally make the decision as to whether or not we're going to get it. But it's looking like we're going to end up getting it, and then we'll end up selling the RAV4.
What dealership did you pick?
Auburn
Okay.
Auburn Ford. So they've already got in contact. They're like, once we get a hold of one, we're going to have all the pre-order people come up for a VIP party, and
that's
you'll
cool.
get to check out the rig, the vehicle, and everything. I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool.
You should vlog it.
Can I be your plus one?
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going to say, I hope you'd bring Jimmy. He's
Yeah.
the reason you're in this,
Yeah,
right?
seriously. And so yeah, that's my rigs right now. And at one time I did have a dual purpose daily driver off-roader, and that was an 07 Tacoma, dual cab long bed, so 138-inch wheelbase, and it was stupid trying to get it through some of the trails I took it through. IFS, never solid axled it, and I finally got to start getting to the point where I was like, I'm doing some of the trails that if I break this, I'm not going to be able to do my day job, because my day job
Right.
makes me drive 40,000 miles a year.
Becomes stressful.
And so I was like, all right, I got to get rid of this and buy 2 separate rigs. And that's where the RAV4 and the first gen 4Runner came from.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
And what about
vehicles.
you, Jimmy?
For a long time, I did have a daily driver crawler.
Okay.
A
And what
solid
was that?
axle. It's the same truck I
Bobcat.
have now, Bobcat, which is a 91 Toyota pickup. It was named Wildcat, and then I bobbed it, and so I renamed it Bobcat.
Cute. Cute.
And then it's a solid axle swapped Toyota pickup on 37s, dual case. Everything's pretty much been touched on it. And so and I was driving around like that for years. And then I got a Honda Civic,
Nice.
and then I blew up the engine, and then I dropped a what their VTEC version inside of it, and then I blew up the transmission.
Wow. What are you doing?
what are you
Donuts?
I don't know.
Just donuts nonstop.
Yeah. I blew a head gasket on the
Yikes.
first time, and then I don't know what the transmission either.
Do you do
gave
your
out
own
or-
oil changes or what?
I did, yeah. I do
Maybe that
for the
was
most
it.
part, maybe. Yeah. So, and then after that, I bought a 95 Toyota pickup. So it was still pickup, not a Tacoma. So 95 is the weird, funky year. It's 95 is a pickup, and 95.5 is the Tacoma.
That kind of looks more like the pickup, right?
Yeah.
Rail stuff.
95.5, is that really a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
half years. You gotta learn
That's
about
when
the
they-
half years.
That's when
Half
they do
year.
them, yeah.
And so I had that for a while, and that was my daily driver. And so then Bobcat started just being sitting.
Oh.
But I'd take it out crawling, but it wouldn't, get driven around a lot. And then since then, I bought an F-250 as a tow rig. I bought a 1994 two-wheel drive Toyota pickup that you guys saw in the shop that no longer has an engine in it, transmission, axles underneath
It's a
it.
shell.
Yeah, and that's currently being fixed. And then I bought a donor truck that's Becky behind the shop, and she's given a lot of her heart and soul up to Samantha, the build that's inside the shop.
God bless Becky.
Yeah.
What a doll.
Right?
Yeah.
So I have, I think, currently 5 vehicles for that are registered.
I was just going to ask you, the registration bills must add up in California.
They do. Yeah. It's a pain, but it's worth it.
Of course. You don't have any kids, right? What else are you gonna? Yeah,
unmarried,
those are your children.
Kids. Yeah, exactly. They
Cool.
take all my money and all my time.
So, what kind of off-roading do you guys prefer? Are you mostly? Yeah, go ahead.
Rocks and snow. My favorite is definitely snow. I love my
fun.
snow wheeling. And then I enjoy the rocks. It's a lot more technical. It's a lot more very minuscule variations, I guess. You have to be right on your line.
Right.
And if you just, get off 1 to 2 inches and things can go bad very quickly. And so I like that aspect of the very technical crawling side of stuff.
So you like the sweaty armpits and like the sweat down your back stress?
No, I hate that.
That's how it sounds to me.
That's why my rig is. I have all my windows; they're all tinted, and my AC works awesome.
Oh, gotcha. Good for you.
It's a lot of fun. The rig is very kind of point and shoot now with the 40-inch 3950 IROX on there and
I'll do it.
dual cased way down. So I just kind of sit back, and it's almost turned me into a really bad off-roader. I'll just kind of be going down the trail and scrape my diffs over the top of rocks. I'm like, oh, I thought I could clear that one. Oh well, let's keep going.
That's what happened with my Toyota too. I remember like going up on the slabs, and I would just be like kind of point and shoot, and then would just hit like a rock like right on my diff, and just keep like hitting the gas, and
You're
just
like,
trying to
I'll go
Yeah.
eventually.
They'll either make it or not.
It's like
Lazy
that time
wheeler.
I drove over that parking stop, right?
Oh, the Mustang.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
I drove all the
I
way
think it's a
over it.
little different.
A little different. And what about you? What do you prefer?
I enjoy rocks as well. I am a sucker for going fast in the sand. Though I don't have a rig that can do it. So so it doesn't happen as much as I would like. Bobcat definitely sucks down in Pismo, and when we were allowed to wheel out there, it just was a rattle can. But I now have a 2016 Tacoma, and that goes really fast in the sand. So that's
There you go.
though it doesn't have any ground clearance, so it's you got to really pick your lines.
I'm slowly pulling him into the snow wheeling. So
Yeah, I've never snow wheeled before this last year, and he was like, "You gotta go, we gotta do it." And we went to Winter Fun Fest this year, and I
Yeah.
went out on some trail rides, and actually he's like, "Put it in low, let's air your tires down, let's just let it idle." And I'm like, "No way, I'm just gonna dig a hole." Like I'm so used to the sand, and
Yeah.
Bobcat would literally just go down if I did
Just
that in the
sink.
sand.
Yeah.
And it's really it's a different style of wheeling, but it was really interesting to learn kind of a new concept of wheeling. So it was fun.
Were you out in the Greenhorn Quarry for that one?
We were up.
It's a great area for snow wheeling.
Saddle Pass. I forget what it's called. But it's way up out of Grass Valley in Nevada City area.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It's a good time. I just one of the things I absolutely love about snow wheeling is that you start out with one conditions at the beginning of the day, and the conditions will change on you throughout the day. So you have to adapt throughout the day. And there's inevitably always a point where you get to a point where you just can't go forward anymore. And that's when I start having fun. And that's when everybody else is like, screw this sucks, I'm out of here, let's turn around and go back home. I'm like, no way, this is where the fun begins.
That's when the challenge happens.
It's going to take us 4 hours to get the next 10 feet, but it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Are you pretty like analytical?
I'm very analytical.
Yeah.
I'm overly analytical.
That's what I was
yeah.
gonna say. Like the technical side of
Yes.
things sounds like very appealing
Yes.
to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm really impatient, so that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like control also, and
Yeah.
snow wheeling is a lot of slipping and sliding,
It's a
and
lot of stuff out of your control, and
I don't like
yeah.
Do you fly?
it. Yeah, well, like personally, I don't have wings, no, but
Yeah.
do I fly? I mean, that's kind of an open-ended question.
Yeah.
But yeah, do I fly?
Do you have problems flying?
No,
Controlling?
not at all.
Or-
I don't mind flying.
They always let her sit up front.
Yeah. She'd want to grab the what are they wheels? What do they call those? The handles?
Yeah.
Handlebars. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't like these sort of unforeseen events, and like you're enjoying the challenge of it's different in the morning, and then once it gets so cold, like if it rains and then it's so cold that it's
It ices over.
icy,
Uh-huh.
it's just terrifying to me. So I've talked about it on a million episodes. Everyone's like, shut up.
Yeah.
We get it. But
Yeah.
it's just too scary for me. It's like I don't enjoy hydroplaning on the freeway either. But it sounds like you probably do.
You don't enjoy
Every
that?
once in a while, I hit that, and I'm like, "Ooh, that was fun."
No,
When is that gonna happen
I get
again?
that like heart in your throat sort of feel. I have it right now just talking about it. I don't like that feeling. It's just not for me, which is weird because I do enjoy some sort of like not extreme sports, but we've done like zip lining and we did rappelling and is that what's called rappelling in Costa Rica? And I really enjoy that kind of stuff with my body. But you're relying
When we
on
went
another
horseback riding, that she did not like that.
No.
I was gonna say the two
So
things you
did-
just told us about. You're actually like harnessed into something.
But
that,
I feel like my
you know
hands
is gonna
and
work.
She had
feet,
control of like the
I
road.
can
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you know what? Snow wheeling reminds me a lot of riding a horse. I can't control that thing.
Yeah.
It can make its own
Yeah.
choices. It feels like maybe you feel differently.
you just don't know your rig.
Yeah. Well, I don't have one, but
Yeah.
when Garett did, yeah, that's kind of my, not comfortable
Yeah,
for me.
I don't know why, but
Gotcha.
you sparked a memory where one of my first time when I was very green and wheeling, I went out to Fordyce, and it started snowing on us, and it got so cold. It was raining, and it got so cold that it iced over, and I couldn't make it out the ledges there, and I would just, it was iced over, and I'd just slide into the tree, and I would stop before I hit the tree because I like trees, but I couldn't get out, and I had two other buddies, and I backed out of the river, and my two other buddies tried hitting it and they couldn't get out, and then luckily this Jeep on like 40s and 1-tons came by, and it took him like an hour of trying to finally, and there's no winch
Dang.
points there.
Yeah,
it's just a big old granite bowl at that point. And so he got out, and then he pulled us all out.
Wow.
And then I was like, and that might be why I've hated snow wheeling for all this time.
Maybe I'm just a crybaby, but I like to know that I'm going to go home and within like the next 3 hours. Where when it
She's,
actually,
like, she's on a schedule. Like everything has to be like.
I'm
doing
just
this
like
by
I
that.
want to go
Yeah.
home and sleep in my bed. I don't want to be stuck till, and then
Yeah.
it gets dark, and I'm
Right.
not
Getting
I'm
real
not afraid
cold.
of the dark.
I have,
But
I have a question for you.
Yes.
And this has come up quite a few times on our podcast. Are you okay with wheeling trips turning into camping trips?
what
Or do you-
unplanned?
Any-
planned?
Either way. Like, do you make
I
a
like
distinction
my
between
things.
camping trips and wheeling trips?
I like so I'm like, where's my pillow? Did I bring my pillow? So if I was
If it was
planning
planned,
if
yeah.
it were
It was
planned,
planned?
certainly. If we're gonna, maybe camp here or maybe camp here, that's fine. I got all my face creams, I got my eye mask, I got my slippers, that's fine. But if we were there and I was planning on going home at a certain point, that's when like the sort of anxiety.
And now the transfer case is in 5 pieces.
Yeah.
right?
You can't leave.
And then you add snow to it. That's like another more stressful dynamic where if it's beautiful and sunny and we're at the Rubicon and it's, June, it's not as, well, then it starts to get hot, but it's not, but the nighttime is fine. The evenings are cooler.
cools off.
Yeah, then it's not so scary. But if you're telling me it's going to get dark and we're going to be here all night, actually, I think Ryan, our sales guy, didn't he leave his 4Runner overnight? Or a couple days. I think he was the one a couple years ago. He couldn't get it out, and it sat there for a couple days, and they had to go
with
back and
Greg,
get it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and even just that story. Or do you guys remember it went sort of like locally viral? Maybe 5 years ago.
The Jeep
That got
yeah.
buried under.
The
They
two
left it
batteries,
there.
yeah.
Yes, and I mean that's stressful. So I
That
don't
was like
know.
all winter.
That was all
Yeah,
winter.
I know that's a little
That was
extreme.
insane, though. That was
Yeah.
like a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Like 14 feet of snow or something on top of it. It was
Yeah.
insane.
The roofs were crushed in because of the amount of snow weight on top of the vehicles.
Crazy.
Yeah. So if you just plan to have a camping trip every time you go wheeling and then you end up back at home that night, it's okay, right?
Yeah, that's okay.
There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
We had a whole episode of discussing
mindset.
wheeling versus camping with our significant others.
Gotcha.
And it was kind of those generic questions.
I'll have to go back and listen. Tell me what episode. I'll go
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah, 50
It
and
was-
52.
Yeah, 50 and 52.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. I just don't like the unknown last minute and then throw really cold temperatures on top of it.
Gotcha.
She also just has that personality of like she's kind of like type A, where she's very organized and just daily activities. So it's not just wheeling. It's,
All right, call me out. Okay. So shifting gears, I want to know, you guys, what is your ideal budget build, and then what is your no budget build? What are the things you splurge on, and what are the things that you think you don't necessarily need to?
Like,
And do you
two
guys
different
build
builds,
it
like-
together, or do you have
man.
your own? Do you guys have different tastes in what you prefer?
Yes.
Yes
Yes and
maybe?
no.
Yes and no.
He likes it taller than I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like my ground clearance a lot. So, we tend to drive longer wheelbase vehicles. And so having a little bit of a more ground clearance really, really helps in the type of wheeling terrains that we have, just with granite boulders everywhere. I've been on trails, with the 36, 37-inch IROCs on my first Gen 4Runner, and not getting hung up on rocks that JKs on 40s and 42s are getting hung up on because of just the ground clearance that I purposefully build into my builds. But in terms of a budget build, I think it would honestly be like a first gen 4Runner, Yoda axles and dual cased and 63-inch leaf springs in the rears up front, and
It's classic.
just call it good. The classic Toyota build.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, for my no budget build,
Yeah.
I probably what I'm building now, which is I don't think it's a seriously out of the budget, out of per se a crazy budget build, but I think the 3.4 engine is a great in between engine. You can kind of go fast with it if you really want to. But it's a great rock crawling engine, plenty of low end torque on it, especially once you get the dual cases under there. And so it's kind of a best of both worlds, where you can go fast if you want to without having all the horsepower of just destroying everything, all your drivetrain when you are rock crawling and you get stuff bound up. So I think ultimately I would love to have a 3RZ engine, a little less power, a little less torque, but more power, more torque than a 22 RE, and it's a great, phenomenal rock crawling engine. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I think we're pretty similar on a budget build. I would probably, but I guess I'm more of a pickup fan.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
so
I like SUVs more.
Yeah, he likes to be enclosed, and I'm more of a pickup fan. And so I'd probably do something like an extra cab, either second gen or third gen, or a first gen Tacoma, one of those kind of rigs. And then straight Toyota axles and Toyota transfer cases, and just plain and simple, and make it pretty easy. I mean, I think that's an excellent budget build vehicle. Unlimited, I've been talking a lot lately about a Toyota Stout, which is like a 67
I know what
through
you're talking
69.
about. I saw one of those at SEMA. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know, so
hard
you'll have
to
to
find.
explain it to me.
It's an even smaller mini truck, like smaller than a Toyota first gen pickup.
Almost has like
It's
body lines like an international pickup.
kind of.
Kind
It
of.
has
Okay.
But small.
blinkers.
Yeah, little,
its
tiny.
blinkers are on the hood in the very front, like at the top.
Like almost on the front fenders, the front of the top of the fenders.
Kind of, yeah. It's just a really small mini truck, and I would probably make it sort of a Baja 4-wheel combo. Like if I
Okay.
could take that body and put it on top of an Ultra 4 rig, that would be perfect.
There you go.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I would I'm a very big advocate of like you can't have one rig that does everything.
Right.
Like, if I have an overlanding rig, that can't be my rock crawler. There's just you see different things when with sort of different rigs. And I have a rock crawler, I kind of have an overlander, and I need a buggy is
I
what
was
I
going to
need.
say that's
So-
why you have
You
like
need a
7
buggy.
vehicles
Yeah.
at your house, right?
Definitely. And so I like the old school. I like the old school look with new school technology.
Yeah. I'm a fan of that as well.
Okay, interesting. How many Toyota transfer cases is too many?
Once you can't reach the lever anymore from the driver's seat. But then you just build extensions to come forward.
You got an SUV, you got one person in the back.
There you go.
Yeah. I think it depends on what type of wheeling you do. If I was to keep if I were to have a 90s truck that was only going to be up on 35s, I would probably say 2 transfer cases with stock 2.28s is perfect.
Okay.
Because you don't really need to go crazy low in that. But if you start really getting onto 40s with the bigger tires and you're changing the gears and the diff, and then, you know, you're hitting things like soup bowl, you know, like, yeah, okay, maybe you want to be a 4.7 in one of them, and then you're hitting that in second gear, you know, and so you can kind of play it. The more, like, what the fun part about the 4.7 is that it's almost equivalent to 2.8s. So
Monster.
yeah, so if you put it in 4.7, that's the same as putting 2 stock T cases in low. So it gives you more variety of gearing options that way. So you, instead of like 10 gears, now you have 15 gears. So, but I really don't think you need to go much lower than that. I mean, with my truck, I think I'm at like 250-ish to 45 to 1 gear ratio.
What didn't Marlon do something crazy?
He has the triple cases set up, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
his final gear ratio is around 1,200 to 1, something like that.
How many 4.7s does he have in
I
there?
think it's 3 4.7s.
Oh, geez,
yeah,
yeah.
something like that.
Well, Mike's is amazing.
Yeah,
The new
Mike's
Tacoma's got-
500 and something, right?
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
He has 2 4.7s and a 2.8, I believe.
Yeah, so cool.
But yeah, I mean, there's a point at which you're just going, I mean, besides showing off and standing out of your
I
rig
was
and
just
having
gonna
your
say
vehicle
that.
move
Yeah,
4 inches in
walking
an
for
hour,
you.
you know, like,
Hey,
yeah.
it's snail trail, right?
Right,
Isn't
exactly.
that the point?
That was sort of the whole thought behind the process there. But yeah, it's besides showing off. Yeah, I don't. 2 cases, either stock or 4.7, I think is a great option.
Okay, good to know. So I saw you guys did an episode a while back called Skid Plates or Rock Sliders First. Can you save me the 2 hours and just tell me?
I think we went with rock sliders.
Rock sliders.
Was what
Okay.
we decided on.
Why
yeah.
did you guys choose that?
Just because skid plates, they're nice to have, but when you're rock crawling, you should be putting your tires on top of the rocks and not your transmissions. So
True.
you're more likely to ding your body panels and your rocker panels before your transmissions if you're rock crawling. So
If you're doing it
if you're
properly.
doing it properly, exactly. Yeah.
Because there is a proper protocol,
Yes.
right?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Zach, do you agree?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Jimmy,
Did-
obviously
I
you
do
were on
agree,
you were on
and
the
didn't-
episode.
Yeah, I agree. And didn't Ruffstuff just come out with some custom rock sliders?
We did,
Oh,
yeah.
And I've pointed like 4 people at them lately, especially when you guys had
Cool.
it with the deal of the day. I had somebody
Yeah.
say, "Hey, do you know any rock sliders for a Nissan Xterra?" And I was like,
Yes,
"Here
I
you
do."
go."
Thank you.
I don't have any idea what would fit, but check these out because there's 4 sizes.
If you drive it, we got a kit for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
RAV4?
Oh, yeah.
RAV4 kit?
Oh, yeah.
We can make it fit.
Right?
I got to practice my welding.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. There you
I think I
go.
might try and put them on my F-150 too, just for like steps.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just 'cause-
Why
yeah,
not?
yeah, why
Yeah,
not?
why
right?
not?
Yeah.
I think you get a pretty good deal too.
They're,
Yeah.
right?
It's all right.
They're budgeted for the Samantha build. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Not for Becky though.
No,
Poor Becky.
I don't know what's going to happen with her.
I feel bad for her.
Yeah.
That's
I-
gonna
It's
be the
get
buggy.
Traded like a
maybe
adopted
traded,
kid.
or it's going to be a LS with full widths and 42s or something. We'll see. She'll have her time.
Okay,
She'll
good.
come to shine.
I can't wait. I can't wait. So I think we've kind of already covered it, but what has been your guys' COVID-19 projects? It sounds like you've been working on your 4-door 4Runner, right?
Uh-huh.
And you've been, taking apart Becky and putting it into
Samantha.
Samantha.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the rundown of what Samantha? Is that kind of the breakdown of what your guys' COVID-19 projects have been, or did you take on anything else? What did you guys do? Did you guys have extra time?
Well, there's always maintenance on our own rigs that kind of take precedent, because if I don't get to go wheeling, then, I become sad.
Okay, it's like the Hulk. When you get angry.
Right. And
Good
so,
to know.
Samantha's definitely been sort of a priority, but lately it's just been going out because the weather's been nice and we're kind of allowed to go out into nature.
Yeah.
And that's one of the only things that we're allowed to do.
Yeah.
And so that's taken a lot of the front row of going out and wheeling over, sitting in the shop and working. So
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, my original COVID project was completely redoing my front axle and putting in 6-shooters and trending eliminators and some other fun stuff, redoing my burr field, one of them. And so I got that done like the first week, and then I was like, what do I do now? So I ended up buying a house, and now I've been my COVID project is building my garage out. So now that I'm like starting to dive into welding, I've got it set up with the 220, and I just got some 3/4 inch steel plates to put on top of my gear wrench toolboxes to create 8-9 feet of just a steel countertop.
Nice.
That I can do whatever I want on. It's never gonna
That is gonna be so heavy.
They're 180 pounds a piece per steel, so I had to go over and beg my neighbor to help me move them out of the car onto the tool chests.
Good.
Which his neighbor is like a fitness fanatic, right? And has a gym in his garage, and he calls me and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing today? You want to come help me move these plates?" I'm like, "Why don't you ask your neighbor, like the guy that lifts weights for a living?"
Come help you with this.
Like I move 12-ounce cans, like
like a pro.
Right.
Did you buy a house during this whole COVID thing?
I did.
It's like the homes are selling like crazy right now, and
totally.
Why is that?
There was a period of about 2 months where you weren't allowed to show a home. So you couldn't go in and show people the house. The realtors weren't allowed to go in. Nobody was allowed to go inside other people's houses, right? In the real estate market. So like there was a period of like 2 months where you just kind of had to buy sight unseen. And that's, when you're buying a house, you're like, I don't think I really want to do that. And so, we got in, and this lady, we just caught it at the right time. She had her house on the market for about a week before COVID hit. And then all of a sudden her real estate agent was like, well, we can't really show the house anymore. So let's just take it off the market. And so after a month of being on the market, they took it off, and they put it on like the week of everything kind of opening back up where they're allowed to show houses again. And the lady at that point was just like, I want out of this house.
Oh, yeah.
And so we were like the first people to look at it, put in an offer that we were just like, it's a little bit out of our price range, so we're just going to put in what we can afford. And she took it.
Yay.
And so we were like, that's
Congratulations.
awesome. And so we ended up moving. I also got married in the middle of all this.
Congratulations, you did?
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Literally, our wedding was the Saturday after they shut the state down.
Wow. So March, like the second week
It
or
was
third week of March.
March 21st was the wedding. So we were literally getting there, and everybody's calling us like, hey, what are you guys doing? This COVID thing is kind of getting a little out of control. And we're like, we're still planning on having it. We understand if you don't want to show up and travel and be there. We totally get it. Don't worry about it. And then we had so many people,
still come?
not coming, saying they weren't going to come anymore.
Gotcha.
And then finally, that Sunday night, I think, before the Saturday of the wedding, the governor kind of said, all right, we're shutting down wineries, breweries, any kind of social gathering spot. We're shutting it all down. Restaurants are all getting shut down. And then we were like, well, I guess there goes the wedding. What are we doing now? Yeah. And we kind of stewed around and kind of had tantrums about it for a couple days.
Yeah.
And then we just jokingly were like, well, everything's going to go to Zoom meetings now. Why don't we just live stream the wedding?
Wow.
And then we're like, that's actually not a bad idea.
It's very creative.
We have all the audio equipment from the podcast to do it all. So we ran out to the vineyard the Wednesday afternoon at 4 p.m. to see if we got internet cell reception in the middle of the vineyard. We did. So at 4 p.m. Wednesday was when we had to completely replan everything to do a live stream for Wednesday's wedding.
Gotcha.
So it was fun.
Saturday's wedding.
On Wednesday. From Wednesday to Saturday. So 2.5 days, I think we had to replan and get everything lined up.
That's ideal, I think. 48-hour turnaround. That's pretty normal.
It ended up being fantastic. We had more people show up to the live stream than we invited to the wedding.
Oh, wow.
So more people got to be a part of it. And it was very short and sweet. We had the ceremony on there for 20 minutes of live stream, and then the first dance, and then saying thank you to everybody. And then the rest of the day was just kind of hanging out with the 8-10 people that were there, the immediate family, the photographer. I think that's it.
That kind of sounds ideal.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
We didn't have to hunt people down for pictures.
Yes.
We didn't have to play host and go around and say hi to everybody.
Make
it
your
was
speeches
super
and,
relaxing.
like,
Save all kinds of money on catering.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Did you
Well,
get refunded or did you lose 50%
the
typically?
caterers lost 50% on that. We kept all the flowers because she was a local lady and we really liked her, and so we're
Yeah.
like, hey, we really want to support you still.
Oh, that's nice.
So we kept all the flowers and found something to do with them, gave some of them to the vineyard to put up and have around, even though they weren't really having people over. And,
Makes them feel better.
yeah. And then the vineyard, they felt bad because they were like, you guys completely lost a use of the venue, and that was the main expenditure, right?
Right.
So they were like, hey, anytime you guys want to come back, one use event of the venue free of charge. You just kind of got to get it in the schedule.
The Ruffstuff Christmas party.
I
No,
Right?
that's what I said. No, that's so selfish, Garrett. You should have a 1-year anniversary party there.
Yeah.
So
That's what I would
we've
do.
thought about that, but the secretary, the wife, she's like, I don't want to plan anymore.
Yeah,
she had such
I
a
feel
bad
that.
experience
Yeah.
with it. She goes, I don't want to
Tell
plan
her I'll
anything.
plan it. I
So
feel bad.
a couple of our other friends were like, well, we'll plan it
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
for you guys then, and it's gonna happen. We're like, all right, we'll see what happens. So
Well, you had a very exciting time during,
It's-
quarantine.
I kind of joke around that I never stopped moving. I never stopped going around and doing stuff, and it was even way more true during COVID. So
Yeah.
I never sit still.
Everybody, I mean, I kind of laugh at people when they're like, oh my gosh, 2020 sucks. Because I've had actually a really good year. You know, I went to Hawaii in January. I went to Antarctica in February.
Oh, that's
I
right.
released my own
He brought
product
COVID back
on.
with him.
Yeah. Is that where that came
I
from?
snuck in without, yeah. I didn't get stopped on a cruise ship when I was down there.
Goodness.
You know, I released my own product this year, you know, and I got to do more camping, which is what I enjoy, than I've ever gotten to do. You know, and it's like, thank you. You know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. It's been a wild year, and, you know, and actually running my own company out of my own house hasn't slowed me down. If anything, it's actually enhanced the podcast and the YouTube side of things.
And you're already doing that at home, so you didn't
Yeah.
have to have the challenge of switching
Yeah.
things
Of
around.
adjusting everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, my life really hasn't changed besides the fact I can't go to a restaurant.
Yeah.
You know, or
We're
a bar
face
or
masked
anything.
everywhere now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Interesting.
been a pretty good year for me actually, which is
Good.
I don't think a lot of people say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with
Yeah,
that.
I definitely
so.
liked having less traffic on the commute.
Yeah, that was
really
nice.
Yeah.
Right?
Half the cars for so long.
So just to wrap it up, we want to know, do you guys have any wild trail stories we can hear?
I mean, my wildest story is probably the one I alluded to earlier, where the guy broke, a mile and a half into the Rubicon. What was fun about that one was I was the only one with a ham radio. And so I drove ahead to the top of Walker Hill to the cell phone tree. And then between the ham radio, reaching people on the 805 repeater, the N6ICW repeater, and then having cell reception at the tree and getting on Facebook, getting in touch with people over 3.5, 4 hours, I was able to source 5 sets of axles
Wow.
for this guy's rear Dana 35, right? And nobody wanted to bring them to the trailhead, though.
Oh.
Any of the trailheads. And I was like, I will meet you at any of the trailheads, and nobody could do it. And so I ended up being the one to go from start at Loon Lake up to Walker Hill, sat there for 4 hours at the top of Walker sourcing axles, and then drove out Wentworth Springs out to WFO. And they were nice enough to leave a set of Dana 35s behind a bush and said, just slip the money under the doormat.
Sounds
and,
like a drug deal.
yeah, right? And so got out there and then picked them up and came all the way back. It was a 12-hour day, and I met the guy, a good buddy who runs Ruffstuff Housing's Chai. I don't know if you guys know him. Chai Bun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Vicky.
And,
Right?
Yeah.
Chai and Sue.
Sue.
Is
And
it
Vicky,
Sue?
Vicky's one of their good friends.
Okay.
So he wheeled out to Wentworth Springs Campground and met me there, and I handed off the axles to him, and I was like, all right, so what's the plan? He goes, well, we're going to put them together. I took the girls up to Buck Island and then came back, and we disassembled the guy's entire rear axle there at the Walker Hill camp spot at Lower Walker. So his axle's just sitting apart, and, they got parts everywhere on a tarp, and he goes, all right, so I'm going to go back now. It's midnight right now where we're talking about this. He goes, I'm going to go back. We're going to put their axle back together, and then we're going to get them up to Buck Island. I was like, are you guys sleeping before you do that? And he goes, no, we'll do it tonight. And I was like, they're not turning around and coming back out? They're going to keep going up the trail? And he goes, yeah, they want to keep going and do the whole thing. And I was like, all right, I'm not coming along for the rest of the trip then. I'm dead tired. I barely got to do any wheeling. I've been driving around on the freeway in the crawler all day. So I was like, you guys have a great time. I'm going to sleep here and I'm going home in the morning.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was definitely an experience and one that's taught me.
Wheel alone.
I was just gonna say, don't offer to help anybody ever.
No.
Don't take a 35 on the
Don't
Rubicon.
take a Dana 35
Yeah.
on the
There you
Rubicon.
go.
So,
It kind of sounds like he drove the whole Rubicon, had a great time, and
Yeah.
went back to town, came back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I told him beforehand because he was like, I just did like $10,000 worth of suspension work and a new engine in my TJ and everything. I was like, oh, cool. So what axles did you put under it? And he goes, the stock ones. And I was like, you did all this work and you didn't do anything with the axles? And he goes, yeah. I was like, don't take this the wrong way, but you're open on a Dana 35. I don't really think you should be out on the Rubicon. and he goes, no, it'll be fine. I was like, dude, I really don't think you should be there. And then somebody else in the group was like, he wants to go. We'll watch after him. Don't worry about it. And I was like, okay, fine. So they kind of talked me into it. And then later on, Chai goes, why is this guy out here on open on a Dana 35? And I was like, I'm washing my hands of that one.
Yeah.
I tried already. So that kind of taught me to, if I really see a potential issue, to kind of step up and say, hey, at least get some kind of locker in there, and we'll be super, super gentle when we're going through. We'll grandma drive you through the Rubicon, but if I see another open rig on a Dana 35, to kind of either put my foot down or just say, hey guys, not my trip then, and I hope you guys have a great time.
Yeah.
Got it. What about you, Jimmy?
Oh, I was trying to rattle my brain for a really excellent one, and I couldn't figure. I have a lot of ones that are like, that was a funny instance, but I don't have like any crazy ones in mind. But I've told a story on our podcast before about going out on Garett and saving a guy with a Samurai by using a high lift jack handle, and we slid the axle shafts into his rear axle with the high lift jack handle inside of there, so it didn't, because we had to pull his third member out because he blew it. And so he was able to wheel all the way out of Garett with a high lift jack handle in the middle of his axle.
Wow, that's really
So
inventive.
that one was cool. But
Yeah.
so I don't think I've told the Pismo story, and I've been talking a lot about Pismo on this episode. In college, we threw a Rager like down in Pismo, and we never camped on the dune, or we never camped on the beach. We always camped back in the dunes. And so one of the benefits of that is we had a specific spot that it's very windy on the beach, but it's not very windy back in the dunes. And so it's really relaxing and warmer, and it's not that bad. And so we had a long day, like just out wheeling day and night and going crazy, and like many popped beads, from people going too fast and hitting corners. Luckily, no problems whatsoever. We dug a hole that would probably fit like a serious big truck. And the Rangers came by and were like, oh my gosh, that's we called it the party hole, because the drunkest person would fall in the hole. Everybody else would be aware that there's a hole there, right? And which is a stupid idea. But when you're young and naive, it was funny.
You're
And-
like, broken ankle. That's hilarious.
Right, exactly. But this hole was huge. Like, we had stadium seating sort of built into the hole, and like it was huge.
the hell?
Yeah, it was.
Do you have any photos?
No, but the Rangers do. Because the Rangers showed up, and they're like, that is the biggest hole we've ever seen anybody dig. Like, get up there and pose. I want to take a photo of this hole. And so like 2 or 3 of my friends, we all hopped up with our shovels and we're posing, and we're like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And we're like, they snapped a photo and they're like, okay, now fill it in. Like, what are you guys doing?
Here's a ticket.
Yeah, it wasn't like where people would drive.
Oh, gotcha.
It wasn't like we built a inverse speed
Car
bump or
trap.
something. Yeah. It was just this massive hole, like sort of in a sort of closed off area surrounded by the tents are blocking it. It was just, it was all around. It was a bad idea. But the Toyota alternators don't like to get wound out. They don't like high RPMs for a long time. And Bobcat, for some reason, needed to be at extremely high RPMs to even skate across the sand. And so when I jumped the truck that weekend, and I just got my brand new 37 MTRs on there, and I bent the front axle. Oof. And so I went to the local like tire shop, and I said, "Can I buy like some 31s? Like I just need some rollers because I'm driving home to college." Mm-hmm. And the axle's bent and it's, just pulling a funny direction. And I don't want to mess up my new tires, So he sold me these like super old 29s. So I had 29s on the front, 37s in the rear. Oh my God. Right? With a bent axle. And I start driving home with like all of our friends. And we all had the like little Motorola's. And we're all in this caravan. My buddy's in like this 1973 Ford F-250 that was like rotted out and just nasty. And whenever a cute girl would drive past us, because I couldn't go fast, I was like, my axle was bent, we were going super slow, and we all had the Motorola. So whenever a cute girl passed us, we sort of had this approval process of the first person in the line which was my buddy in the clapped out Ford, should chase after him and see if they could get her number, which didn't work. I don't think they got a single number, but it was sure fun. And my alternator was dead. So about every 45 minutes or so, we pulled off onto the side of the road, and we weren't smart enough to like swap the battery with another rig. We just hooked up jumper cables and sat there for like an hour and let it charged. Yeah. And then we're like, okay, let's see if we can continue on. And we drove for like another 45 minutes and like pulled over on the side of the road. And at one point I couldn't make it any farther. My truck was dying and had no power. We literally like Jimmy rigged jumper cables together to get it from one truck.
So you could just keep driving on the
No,
road?
we didn't drive. Just to charge. We had to make an extension cord out of jumper cables.
You can do that, so you just clip them all together, right? It just works through itself.
Yeah, and so charged it. And I got pulled over probably 5 miles from my apartment in college because I didn't have my headlights on. And the rig in front of me and the rig behind me, we all pulled over together. But the cop somehow, my buddy who was behind me wasn't doing his job and staying on my rear end so that no cop could come in. Yeah. Right? And so he pulled us over, and all of my buddies pulled over, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, my alternator's out. I've got to go 5 more miles. I'm not running with my headlights because it's draining the juice out of the battery. And it was dusk. It wasn't like super dark. And he's like, "Just go home."
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. Yeah. And so made it home, changed the alternator, swapped out an axle, and still have the truck today. So
with the same alternator?
Oh, I doubt it.
Yeah.
And not the same tires.
Yeah, so, I'd hope not.
And not the same
setup.
third member, and not the same axle shafts. So it's all new axle after that. So
Gotcha.
But yeah, there's many stories.
Well, I really like that one. A lot of visuals. I made a lot of visuals in my head.
That's like the party holes.
It was the funnest, stupidest thing. We had one time, we went to Pismo a lot. One time we dug a party hole, and we had a good buddy of ours that had a concussion. And he was drinking, which is another stupid thing that nobody should do. And then he was the one that fell in the party hole. We're like, "What are you doing, Melvin?" Like,
Melvin, that makes it even better.
Well, I know, right? You have a concussion, you're drinking, which is wrong, and then you were the one that fell in the party hole and probably hit your head on the side of the party hole, which is even stupider. But yeah.
He's probably fine.
I'm
yeah,
sure.
Where's
he
Melvin?
He works at Disneyland, and he works in one of the restaurants there, and he is like one of the lead waiters that oversees the area and wears all the flair.
Oh, the 37 pieces of flair?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to be like, he's in the Winnie the Pooh suit. Sweating in June.
No. Yeah, maybe. Sometimes.
Gotcha. So we want to thank Jimmy and Tyler for coming out to chat with us today. Where can our listeners find your products, your podcast, and how can they follow you guys if they want to?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is Jimmy. You can find me anywhere on SnailTrail 4x4 on Instagram and YouTube, and SnailTrail4x4.com for the website, and even SnailTrail 4x4 for the podcast. My Snail Armor tailgate is currently underneath the SnailTrail 4x4 platform, but I will soon be building another website for that. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about you? Where can we find? We already said where we can find you, but go ahead, plug it again, please.
You can find me on Instagram over at 4x4 Toyota Tyler. And then MORRFlate and my off-road radio. There's my offroadradio.com if you're interested in ham radio stuff. I just started partnered with another company for the online classes. So that's going on over at hamradioprep.com. But you can still do ham radio programming, modifications to unlock radios, everything through the website at MORRFlate.com. And MORRFlate is MORRFlate.com. And then that's also on Instagram and Facebook. And I think that's it.
And your podcast is SnailTrail 4x4, and you can find it everywhere podcasts are?
Everywhere, yep.
Okay, cool. All right, well, thank you guys. We really appreciate having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you guys.
It's always fun hanging out with you guys. So.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys were able to come on to ours. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. And don't forget to use code RuffStuffPodcast at checkout for an easy 10% off your entire order. Please email us with any questions or comments you have, podcast@ruffstuffinc.com, and leave us a 5-star review. Thanks.